This past Wednesday, I was in Glasgow, Scotland, at the Garage nightclub for Inside the Ropes live event featuring the Icon, the Vigilante, the franchise of WCW, the Stinger, whatever you want to call him. He is the man called Sting. What was asked? What was answered? What answers did he give? I will tell you about it in this video, a rundown of what was asked through my notes. I actually taped the audio on my dictaphone. Would be releasing it obviously because it's not really my place to do so, but I just recorded it through using my dictaphone in order to take these notes and to give a rundown to people who weren't able to make it what went on. Really great meeting him. It was like he walked off a television screen, you know, one of those moments we walk into the room to meet him. Me and my brother were first in the queue. We were there from literally just after 3 o'clock. The Q&A started, the meet and greet started just after 5 o'clock. Then the meet and greet started just after about 7:45. I think it ended up starting. It was supposed to be about 7:30. Could have been a little bit better organisation between the meet and greet and the Q&A session. People like myself and my brother had been there for hours. It was kind of haphazard. Everybody kind of congregating at beside the stairs where because we were held in like the bar area while everybody else was getting their meeting Sting and getting their pictures taken. And it was a little bit really assembled when it comes to people pushing, trying to get in a good position so they could get a bit of front row seats. We ended up with second row seats, which was good. And I deliberately made sure myself and my brother was sitting on the edge, so I got some good photographs. I put up a lot of photographs, and before I will very quickly get to what was asked and what was answered at the Q&A. The reason why I just want to say that I put the video being about 4 minutes, it could have been a minute, 2 minutes long. When am I ever going to get possibly the opportunity to be in a position like that, to listen to Sting for a couple hours? And I know some of the photos in that video, they seem a little bit repetitive. There's not quite much movement in a couple of them, but I've always wanted to meet Sting, been a fan of his since the late 80s. When am I going to get the chance to do that again? I haven't had really comments about it. If you haven't watched it, there is two videos up about the event so far. There's the photo video, and there's Sting giving his thoughts on his match with Triple H, which ended the show, and I'll get to those thoughts in a few minutes when I run through it. So it was Inside the Ropes, and I have to say this t-shirt was made by Squared Circle, I think it's .com. Search squaredcircle.com, they do a lot of t-shirts. There was several actually being sold on the night. It says Sting and it's got a scorpion on it. I mean, let me move my camera. I keep forgetting that I've had this repaired so I can move my camera, and it's got UK Tour 2015 near the bottom of the t-shirt. It was Inside the Ropes, like I said. It was night 3 of their mini UK tour. They did London, Manchester and Glasgow the 5th, 6th and 7th of October. The Glasgow one, as I said, was at the Garage nightclub. Billy Kirkwood, the comedian, was the warm-up guy, did a very short warm-up, got the crowd going, had a really hilarious bit where he called David J. Wilson, who actually took the photos in Glasgow of the VIP meet and greet, and I said it running up to the event, because he's actually doing an event for ICW tonight in Newcastle, so he does get around a bit. David J. Wilson's a fantastic photographer, he does great work, so I was never, ever troubled by the possibility of by the fact that he was doing the photos in the meet and greet, and they came up brilliantly. Very happy with my photo of Sting, I have to say. So thanks a lot to David J. Wilson Photography, David J. Wilson himself, for doing that. Absolutely brilliant. Really, like I said it in the run up to it. Didn't need to worry about the quality of the photos, and I've looked through many of them. Inside the Ropes, if you were there on Inside the Ropes Live's page, if you've not seen them yet, absolutely fantastic photography. I knew they would be clear and crisp as they actually are, so they're high quality, fantastic pictures. Couldn't be happier with the picture. So after Billy Kirkwood did the short warm-up, he introduced the Inside the Ropes hosts Kenny McIntosh and Robert Duffin. They introduced Sting. Sting came out. I would probably get a strike on my YouTube channel if I actually uploaded the video I have of Sting coming out, because there's like a WWE Titantron and footage played on the big screen on the stage, and there's music playing, WWE and WCW themes that Sting has used during his career. I would probably unfortunately get a YouTube strike if I upload it. It's a great video, I'll just have to keep it for myself. I honestly feel I would get a YouTube strike if I uploaded it, which is such a shame. I don't have the technology to kind of take the song audio out and replace it with YouTube stuff. If I did, I would have put it up, but I would probably honestly get a YouTube strike, and I don't really want another YouTube strike just now. But Sting came out. The Q&A was in 4 parts. It was Surfer Sting, Crow Sting, TNA, which was nicknamed the Insane Icon, and WWE. I'm actually using it on my notes. Like I said, I take the audio with my dictaphone. I'm not going to release it. I'm not going to put it up because it's not really my place to do so, and to be honest, the audio in parts is quite rubbish, especially when the music comes on. I think it's the bass and the speakers that were overhead. It kind of, because I was so close to them, it kind of thumps, so the audio can't, the songs really can't really be heard. It's decent otherwise. You can hear the crowd, you can hear Sting clearly, but it's not really my place to release that audio. But a very good. Started off with a little discussion with Sting, him explaining how he got into wrestling. He owned a Gold's Gym in Los Angeles, met guys like Hulk Hogan and the Iron Sheik, and attended a couple of events, and guys like Iron Sheik got him excited about wrestling and really got him into it. He said he felt normal after what happened with Seth Rollins, the turnbuckle powerbomb. He's been obviously answered that question every single night of the tour. Says still evaluations to do, which is pretty much what he told WWE.com. But he did pay tribute to Dusty Rhodes, who was actually honoured that same night in the NXT TakeOver Respect event. I've still not watched. I'll watch that some point during this weekend. I actually also bought the new Sting Into the Light Blu-ray. It was available exclusively on this tour. It's not released for another 2 weeks. I think something like the 19th of October. It's released something like 19th, the end of October. By about 2/3 of the way through October, certainly about 2 weeks or so, or maybe by this point. At least another week on Monday, at least, until it's released. So I'll be sitting down to watch that some point during this weekend. There's a lot of other wrestling topics that I want to discuss, so I'll do that next in a couple of days, and I'll talk about what I thought of that Blu-ray as well. When I'm going to do an elongated video. This is probably going to end up being a decently long video anyway. But the first question asked by a fan was actually by myself. As soon as I knew at the Wolfpack tour in 2013, I didn't get the chance to ask a question because I was hesitant on putting my hand up, but I just immediately went for it. I asked him, the first question to be asked to him, would he have preferred, because he was a member of the Four Horsemen early in his WCW career, would he have preferred it to have lasted longer? He said he really wasn't a team guy at that point. He was quite his own entity. He didn't fit that mold and was happy that it turned out the way it did. To be honest, I think he has to be happy with the way it turned out, because that was him leaving the Four Horsemen was what led him to feud with Ric Flair more, and this was obviously well after the first match at Clash of the Champions in 1988, but the feud of him being kicked out of the Four Horsemen really led him to the Great American Bash in 1990 and winning his first World Heavyweight Championship. He was asked about working with the Ultimate Warrior, said it was intense. He looked forward to hopefully reuniting with Warrior, heard he had calmed down a lot when he was just speaking to WWE. Unfortunately, as we know, Ultimate Warrior passed away. He said that was a real bummer situation. He was really looking forward to really building a relationship with the Ultimate Warrior. Obviously, their former tag team partners in the Blade Runners hadn't talked to each other in years, hadn't had any kind of relationship. Like I said, he heard that Warrior had calmed down a lot. That would have been great to see the Blade Runners reunite, even if it was just an in-ring segment. Obviously it wouldn't be in a wrestling match. Perhaps Warrior is Sting's manager or assistant kind of thing. in a match. If Warrior had come out like he did at WrestleMania 8, I think it was, I think he came out to help Hulk Hogan against Sid Justice. That kind of moment at last year's WrestleMania would have been fantastic. If it had been instead of the NWO, Ultimate, or even just the NWO came out and then Ultimate Warrior came out, that would have been a dream moment. Said that Shockmaster was a very embarrassing situation. That was, of course, formerly Typhoon Fred Ottoman. That's when he comes to the Worlds. It's on the network, I think. It's on the Clash of Champions, so I'm sure it's on the network, because I think every Clash of the Champions from WCW is on the network. What apparently happened, they reinforced the wall that he was going to break through with a 1 foot high plank or something. Nobody told him about it, so Shockmaster, when he tried to break through the wall, just went over the plank wood. We all see that. We all know what happened during the Shockmaster debut. They did keep trying to push Shockmaster. I think you can see it on the WWE Network. They tried to keep pushing him, but obviously it didn't work out. Best moment. I said, yeah, it was quite embarrassing. Is this really happening? Is this a dream situation? Asked best moment of his career was, he said, meeting sick kids and doing charity work is always really good and humbling, but wrestling Ric Flair for the first time, he thinks is certainly one of his very favourite moments. He was asked for a Flair story, but he says the Flair stories that he wants to tell, he can't really tell. The feeling of winning his first world title was something that he will never forget. Like I said, that was a Great American Bash 1990. Family life when on the road was really tough. He was on the road 300 plus days a year. Early on, he did become a big star really early on. He was able to control himself a little bit more, control how much he worked. But it was extremely tough, pretty tough to maintain a family life. He was asked about underused talents in WCW. The guy asking the question actually mentioned Big Vito. Why? Why, mate? Why did you ask about Big Vito? I mean, Vito was okay, but no, Vito wasn't really an underrated talent. Most people have heard of Big Vito more because he sued WWE. I don't think it was successful, or is it still undergoing legal action? I'm not sure about concussions, about treatment. But Vito, he was okay. He was like the second WCW guy to dress up in a dress after Perry Saturn, who did it a lot better. Perry Saturn did that gimmick of being in a dress in his feud with Chris Jericho well better than Big Vito did. Big Vito wasn't underused talent. Sting said that he felt everyone was given an opportunity to try new characters, to try new stuff, but yeah, perhaps some didn't get the chance that they deserved. He said he was also asked about RoboCop. Each segment of this, including before the introductions, was there was a highlight video. So before he was introduced, there was a highlight video showing throughout his career. Before Surfer Sting, the Surfer Sting portion of the show, there was a video with highlights of his career as Surfer Sting. Then before the Crow Sting part of the show, there was highlights showing him as the Crow. Then there was highlights before showing him in TNA before they talked about TNA Sting, and then highlights of what he's done so far in WWE before we talked about the so-called WWE Vigilante Sting. He said that RoboCop, I said, was embarrassing. He knew that it was something that would come back to haunt him, and the Steiners, especially Scotty Steiner, was laughing like hell when they got back. Well, he said really laughing crazily when he got back to the dressing room at what had just happened. And then he was asked about what caused him to make the change from Surfer Sting to Crow Sting, which led us on to the second video, third video really, showing him in his days as the Crow Sting. And I know they've uploaded the the introduction video. I'm hoping that they'll put up all the videos on Vimeo, I think it is. I've asked the question, will the other videos be uploaded? I haven't had an answer yet. I don't know whether they will upload them, because it was a really good montage. Somebody did it for them. Robert, something, I forget the name now, but very good videos that were put together. The introduction was really good throughout, showing his throughout his career. So we got to the second part of the show, Crow Sting. What caused him to make the change to Surfer to Crow Sting? We've all heard the story before. The wrestling business was changing. He saw Hogan on TV and live events doing the typical red and yellow, say your prayers, eat your vitamins and drink your milk kind of stuff, and Hogan was getting booed, even at WWE live events, and when he was trying to be the ultimate babyface like he was in WWE, he was getting booed continuously. So he realised the reaction to him was also going down, that he really needed to change. He obviously, as everyone knows, gives credit to Scott Hall for suggesting the Crow inspired look. Said he had actually seen the film before beginning the change to the Crow kind of character. He really liked the character of the film, but it didn't really capture him. Didn't really think, oh, I've really got to be like that in WCW. Didn't really think that much. Really did like the film. Did like the character. Said did give credit to Scott Hall for suggesting that look and working on the look. Using the baseball bat. He was asked, why use the baseball bat as your foreign object. He said it was inspired by the film Warriors. Thought no one else had used it, a baseball bat, so it was so unique and obviously so new. So that's why he picked the baseball bat to use. And obviously it made an impact. Something. My own thoughts here. When you're talking about weapons. A baseball bat is obviously a very American thing, and obviously WCW and even WWE to this day, whether they want to say they're international or not, obviously they are, but whether they say that they're playing to international audiences. Really, they are obviously playing to American audiences mostly. That's their home market. That's where they're based. So the baseball bat is something it's one of those kind of images that's really ingrained in the American culture. If you went to America, or you were in America, you show somebody a picture of a baseball bat, they'll know what it is. Even if you colour it in black, or just show them a picture of a silhouette of a baseball bat, they'll know it's a baseball bat. They'll be able to say, yes, that's a baseball bat. Same as if you showed them a silhouette of an American football or a hockey stick, they'll know it. They'll know what it is. So it's one of those kind of, from little kids to 80, 90 plus year olds, lifelong Americans, they recognise, they know what a baseball bat is. So it really is something that I think it was a good choice, because many Americans would know exactly what it is, and know, hitting the balls with it, and really know how a baseball bat feels in their hands, and how strong it is, how how it must hurt if you get hit by one, and how impactful using such a weapon could be. So it was really a really good choice in my opinion. He was also asked about ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, and their use of barbed wire. Said it didn't make any sense to him. Said, give up to them, their own breed of wrestlers and fans, but questioned whether they were making a living, whether they had a good income, what schedule they're on, and whether, when they would be able to be home, and whether the punishment really was worth it. He didn't exactly say that, but it was obviously what he was saying. He was asking, whether the punishment was worth it financially and family-wise. Whether taking all that punishment in ECW was worth it overall. He did say he did respect ECW and the wrestlers and the fans, but I understand that a lot of the ECW stuff sometimes it looks, Tommy Dreamer going off balconies, some of the people going through tables and off scaffolds. It does sometimes, even as a wrestling fan, as a wrestling fan, as a guy that likes some of the ECW stuff, and I'm a little bit old school in my thinking when it comes to professional wrestling and how it should be held, how the matches should go. But you do sometimes wonder in some of the stunts that they did whether it was worth it. So I completely agree with him in that. But like I said, I do respect it as well. Where was he was asked about Bash at the Beach 96, said it reminded him of really old style babyface and heels. Was when he was supposed to be beat down, he was kind of in a fetal position, trying to protect himself from all the trash that fans were throwing into the ring. Said it continued on shows, live on TV and live events for weeks to come, until eventually they had to try and stop the fans from actually throwing the stuff. Didn't remember whose idea rappelling from the rafters was. First time he did it was in Chicago at the United Center, which was 300 feet high. The stunt guy that taught him, they did it in total 4 times. The first time, the stunt guy had him kind of scissored between his legs. They had him on 2 separate ropes, but the guy who had him under control and was continually instructing Sting on what to do. Right, you do this, you lower this yourself there, you actually have, like, your one hand is like a brake, you let the brake off, you let, gradually, so you can really control your descent using your brake. The second time he did it himself, and he used the brake so much that it ended up with him spinning 360 in the air all the way down, almost like a spiral. One of the shocking bits that he mentioned in this Q&A was that I think it may have been the first time that he did it on TV, or actually did it on that WCW live event in Chicago, but they were apparently telling the stunt guy to tell Sting to go, but then Sting was like clambered over the railing to go down, but then the stunt guy grabbed him and told him to hold on, undid all 300 feet of the rope, then redid the rope, and then said, go, right, now, and then afterwards Sting talked to him, and apparently the stunt guy had, or somebody, whoever it was, had put the rope in the wrong way around, which meant that if Sting had gone down, he would have gone down, and I'm talking like Owen Hart did. He would have gone straight down. So it's thankful, that at least for Sting's sake, that I don't know whether what was the last second spot by the stunt guy, whatever must have been, but the stunt guy pretty much saved his life. So that was actually quite shocking. I don't think I knew that. But that is shocking. Sting could have been, it could have been Sting instead of Owen Hart. Obviously mixed feelings about that. I would not have liked either to have happened. I would have loved Owen Hart still to be with us. But certainly, that was quite a shocking moment for Sting to explain that he almost went right down. He did say, though, when he did actually go down, he was using the brake but controlling the rope. Didn't use the brake as much, but controlled the rope so much he got about 2nd degree burns, at least on his hand. Inside he was really, that's really sore. But obviously that's when he was, really stoic and really, just using the eyes. I never got the chance to really say it to him, because I didn't ask a question after the first question, but really one of the most powerful images in professional wrestling that I've seen are those weeks that Sting comes out, and I'm glad that I've got the WWE Network and that this footage is available to us nowadays. That for him, all those times he came out and just stared the NWO down, and just that stoic look into the eyes of Hogan, into the eyes of the NWO, one of the best moments, but one of the best kind of, I don't know, gimmicks, portions of wrestling that I've ever seen, is the times where Sting just comes out and just stares down the NWO, saying nothing, doing nothing, just staring them down and pointing his black baseball bat at them. It's just an amazing image. Where else? What else? Was he asked? Yes, Vince McMahon, when he did join WWE, said, no flying, obviously I said to the Owen Hart thing. Starrcade 97, Sting was in meetings, there was continuous meetings during the day of Starrcade 1997 about the ending of the WCW Championship match, continually changing actually until the time of the match. He said about the Human Torch match versus Vampiro, they wouldn't let him take the fall. If you haven't seen it, he's really top of the what you really call the WCW Titantron. Sting and Vampiro are fighting in a match. I can't remember exactly what I think it's Great American Bash. I've got the video somewhere. I think it's a Great American Bash. Search for it on the WWE Network or on YouTube or whatever. But the whole match is to set the whole rule of the match. You've got to set your opponent on fire. Now, it's obviously another guy. It's not Sting that takes the huge fall, because it's like at least I would say about 100 feet. At least it's a really long drop. If you haven't seen it, search for it on the WWE Network, because I'm sure it's definitely a WCW pay-per-view. So search for it on the WWE Network if you have never seen it, or on YouTube or whatever. It's a really long drop, and it's obvious even to when I got the because it was in the late 90s. Just search Vampiro, and I'm sure you'll find it on the search bar on WWE Network. But it's obvious when I got the tape shortly after the event, when it came out in the UK, because that was the point where VHS videos were actually coming out in the UK of late 98, 99 events. It's obvious it's not Sting. It's obvious that Sting disappears behind the screen in obviously a safe holding area or a structured area that they've got to keep him safe, and then a stunt guy comes out and does the fall, because Vampiro has supposedly put Sting on fire, and it's obviously not Sting, and obviously people rush in very quickly with fire extinguishers, and it's obviously not Sting. Sting said that they wouldn't let him do the stunt, which annoyed him, because he always did his own stunts, but WCW would not let him do it. And he said, like, I have to agree with him, the Vampiro storyline, it didn't really quite work. To be honest, it didn't go into the darkness of the characters that I would have liked to. It was hinted at, but it really doesn't. It certainly didn't work. And Sting says, no disrespect to Vampiro, he was a good guy, no, absolutely nothing but respect to Vampiro, but he felt the storyline didn't actually work. Was asked about joining the NWO Wolfpack, said it was the right thing to do. Still, had really a lot enjoyed. Sting had been very stoic, like I said, and very silent, not talked much, and this was an opportunity. He explains it in the Sting Unmasked, I think it's Sting Unmasked VHS of the WCW Superstar series. He explains it in there. It was a great opportunity to kind of bring a bit of the old character, the old surfer type character of Sting out again when he went red and black of the Wolfpack. It was a great opportunity for him to have some fun again, to talk again, and to really change up the Sting character once more. He says obviously he still gets asked at at meet and greets like he was in Glasgow to do the Click Wolfpack sign. He had no idea though that the Sting character change, the Crow Sting, would be as successful as it actually turned out to be. He also actually gave credit to Scott Steiner for telling him about the reverse DDT that we now call the Scorpion Death Drop. Obviously, Sting for many years had the Stinger Splash, and he had the Scorpion Death Lock. He was actually asked at the start by Kenny McIntosh and Robert Duffin whether he knew some of the lyrics to the song Man Called Sting, and there was various suggestions about who wrote it. There was even suggestions about whether Michael P.S. Hayes had a hand in writing that song, but I don't think anybody was sure of exactly who contributed to the song. But Scott Steiner told him about the reverse DDT and taught him about the move. Like I said, he took it, and now we know it as the Scorpion Death Drop, although obviously other wrestlers have used it since. Said He didn't like to see things like Vince Russo, that's a spit by the way, I don't like Vince Russo, and David Arquette win the WCW Championship. I agree, I hate that fact that David Arquette, as much as that was promotional stuff for the WCW Ready to Rumble movie, there was no need to put the WCW title on him, and obviously most fans don't really recognise David Arquette or Vince Russo as WCW champions. When it comes to Bret Hart joining WCW, couldn't really comment on the WWE Montreal Screwjob. Didn't know Bret, didn't know anybody, doesn't know Sean. Can't really comment on that situation. But he did say it was a great example of how cutthroat wrestling can be. Bret didn't seem really happy in WCW, like he was preoccupied at times. Did come out and be shelled sometimes and was good fun, sometimes, but did many times seem preoccupied. But was a really good cartoonist as well, and enjoyed some of the work that Bret did when backstage in WCW. He did have good talks with Vince McMahon and WWE during the years when his contract with WCW ever came up, but it just didn't work out between Sting and WWE to go to the company, and he obviously, as we all know, he ended up staying in WCW until the bitter end. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. Although Hulk Hogan did actually say that he wanted Sting in WWE in the early 90s. This was told to him, confirmed to him during these kind of talks, that Hogan did genuinely want Sting in WWE in the early 1990s. Like I said, I don't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. I think probably, looking at it, it was a good thing that Sting never went to WWE any time during the 1990s. Wasn't any trouble working with Vince Russo in either WCW or TNA, but did think some of the stuff was a bit too wordy, too many promos for his liking. Then we got moved on to the third of the four portions, and talking about TNA. It was really a lengthy discussion on the Crow stings. I think that was certainly the longest section of the show. I'll try and go through this quickly. I know I'm already about nearly 32 and a half minutes, but I want to give people a good rundown of what was asked and what was answered. Hopefully people are enjoying it. But he had hopes that joining TNA, joining an upstart company, would take it to new heights, and that perhaps others would join him in trying to do what they did to WCW in TNA. Change the character and his look a little bit to be able to talk and show more personality. And that's why he introduced more colour on his outfits and on his face paints. Wanted to prove people wrong about people's thoughts on or doubts about Sting actually being able to talk. Obviously Sting never been known really as a huge promo guy, so he wanted to prove people wrong about that. Confirmed that he had an AOL contract. We've known this for years, that they had to pay him. AOL Time Warner owned WCW at the end through mergers with AOL and Time Warner. They owned WCW, and he confirmed that he had the AOL Time contract. We all knew this at the time, but he confirmed that he had an AOL contract that they had to pay him after WCW was bought by WWE. So he was never going to be a part of the WCW, so-called WCW invasion. Was asked about AJ Styles in TNA, said AJ is an incredible worker, great experience working with him, and one of the best talents he's seen. The main event Mafia was also a great change, wearing no face paint, no gear, the opportunity to rub shoulders with the likes of Kevin Nash and Kurt Angle was a great opportunity and a great chance to do something different as well. Said Kurt Angle is a machine, can't agree more with him. Kurt took him to the limits and pushed him during their matches together. Very creative, never seen a bad match that Kurt has had against anyone. One of the best of all time in his opinion. The morale during near the end of his TNA stay was not good. They were on Spike TV. He had concerns about Spike TV, saying, "I was really much of a sex and violence channel which catered to a smaller audience, and that was a big problem and made it very hard." He said also, a lot of hotels and that didn't carry Spike TV, so you really couldn't even watch the stuff back. And I think he was very concerned near the end of TNA, very near the end of his TNA stay, about the reach that TNA actually had and the exposure that they had. He did say, like I said, morale was quite poor during the end. He said that things he felt began to unravel for him in TNA for weeks and months, and he really knew that it was time to go, it was time to leave TNA. He said putting over Magnus before he left was really no problem at all. He wanted Magnus to get a chance. He felt that Magnus had been one of the guys that was sidelined for many months at a time, and wanted Magnus to be kind of pushed. He said, when it comes to putting Magnus over and losing to Magnus, why do anything else? Which is, in my opinion, just a point of view to have. Is fantastic. I wish some more of the older wrestlers had that, and even some of the younger wrestlers had that kind of opinion. Then we went on to the last portion of the show. So I'll try to make this quite quickly because I know this is quite a lengthy video. We moved on to WWE. Not a huge amount to talk about in this section. Said that everyone had been very respectful. When it comes to his debut last year at Survivor Series, they had him in a bus underneath the arena, which they used as a changing room, so nobody at all, apart from Vince, Triple H and probably a couple of executives, knew that he was going to be there. Not any of the wrestlers knew that he was going to be there. Nobody knew that who was in the bus until he actually stepped out of the bus and went to go to the curtain for his obviously interference in the main event, although he was still covered up. So while walking through, to be honest, looking at the footage a couple of nights ago of that Survivor Series debut, I think a couple of people probably, as you said, several wrestlers and people in WWE saw him as he was walking through to go to the curtain in order for him to go to the ring when he needed to. But I think, to be honest, in my opinion, some of the people seeing him walk through, even though he was covered up with a couple of, he said something like a towel or something, a big cover thing that they were using to cover him up, I think surely you would probably, a couple of people probably recognised that it was Sting. And to be honest, I don't really want to say this, but I'm gonna. A lot of people knew that Sting was there. Sting, I think, had been spotted before Survivor Series. I believe he was, if memory serves me correct, he was spotted in the airport. I think I'm sure somebody saw him, and they said that Sting was in the area, so we knew that Sting would be appearing before the end of Survivor Series. I think I'm pretty sure I'm right on that, which is a bit unfortunate, but how he was going to be used was surprising. I don't think it was as surprising as I think he thinks it was, but certainly it was a great moment in wrestling history to see Sting join WWE. Asked about competition, obviously he said his competition is in wrestling is great. There's great that there's somewhere else for guys to go. Some fans switched off after the end of WCW, so the competition might help them get re-interested in the business. He said he hadn't paid attention or watched TNA since he left. Like I said, concerned for TNA because he heard the new station, which is Destination America, which they might even be losing in January, is smaller than Spike, so he's very concerned about that. He picked out a couple of talents in WWE that he thinks are great talents, like Bray Wyatt is a great talent. Seth Rollins, he absolutely praised. Said Seth Rollins is a cut above one of the most talented. I've ever seen. He's been pulled in many directions with appearances and events and TV. He confirmed pretty much the story that he told to WWE.com about Seth finding him in the ambulance and really apologising about what happened at Night of Champions. And Sting told him, "Say it's no problem. You didn't do anything wrong. It's not your fault." And Seth telling him that he dressed up as Sting for Halloween. And he said it was very, very humbling for him. There was actually a story that he said about the ambulance after Night of Champions, and that apparently there was a problem with the ambulance, which meant for 20 minutes he had to wait while being on the stretcher with a neck brace on, not being allowed to move. He had to wait there for a good 20 minutes before they were able to get another ambulance and transfer that to him to that ambulance, so they could take him away. He doesn't know what exactly happened, but apparently there was some problem with the ambulance, and he was lying there for about 20 minutes, and I think that was the point where Seth Rollins found him, because obviously we know Seth Rollins was looking for him in the arena. I think it was during the delay of waiting for the another ambulance to come around that Seth Rollins actually found him. And they were able to have this discussion. He said that at least he hopes that at least people can say that Sting is not resting on his laurels, still trying to be as best he can. Was asked about future roles, perhaps teaching younger talent. That was actually by Viper, one of Scotland's top female wrestlers. He said he wasn't sure, nothing for sure about Sting and his future roles. He was finally asked about who would be his #1 choice of opponent, Brock Lesnar, Bray Wyatt, or The Undertaker. He said he's been very public about it. It would be The Undertaker, and the crowd broke into a chant of "Make it happen." Dallas, Texas, where Sting resides now, is the home of WrestleMania 32. What better? Sting can sleep in his own bed, make his way to the arena, and wrestle Undertaker. I would love it to happen. I don't know whether it will. There are many, many different rumours, different speculation about what was going to happen at WrestleMania 32. Who Undertaker's going to face. Whether Sting will be cleared to wrestle after the neck injury, I don't know. But no, it really, really could be a great match. The final question was his thoughts on his WrestleMania match against Triple H. He said, and it's a separate video you can watch on my here on YouTube, just a short 1.5 minute video, said it was actually nostalgia. What people will think when watching that match, if you're a Sting fan, well, I lost. That I was, not in WWE for so many years, and I lost that match. But he said it was nostalgia. Yeah, Shawn Michaels super kicked him, but it was DX, it was NWO, it was his first WrestleMania, and his first match in WWE was WrestleMania against Triple H, and you can't really get bigger than that. A huge name like Triple H, the biggest event that WWE has in WrestleMania, and that's his first match. You really can't get any bigger than that. So that was all the questions, a lot of the questions that was asked during that Inside the Ropes event. Well, what can I say? My final thoughts on Sting. Meeting him was an absolute honour, and I genuinely hope to do it sometime down the road. I hope at some point I do get the opportunity to meet Sting once more. It was an absolute honour. Like I said, I've been a fan of his for many, many years. The first time that I have met Sting, it was an absolute honour to meet him, and it was such a great experience. I have to say thanks to Inside the Ropes, David J. Wilson Photography, everybody involved in that show. It was a fantastic show, really enjoyable. Like I said, a little bit of the crowd arranging between, because people like myself queued up for many hours, and then not everybody got as far near to the front as some of the people would have liked. Like I said, we got second row because we could have kept near the doorway, near the stairs where we were being kept before we went up the couple of flights of stairs to the actual area in the garage nightclub that the Q&A session was being held. But really, really enjoyable. Absolutely, I know it was very expensive, but to meet Sting, to spend a couple of hours in his company was very well worth it. I don't know what what future any tours that Inside the Ropes will do. They say they're working on stuff for next year. I don't know what events I'll be able to attend next year, depending on employment stuff and that, but really enjoyed it. Fantastic. If I had the choice whether to go again, I certainly would. I really enjoyed it. I, as a huge Sting fan, I look forward to watching that new Blu-ray, and I'll probably watch it tomorrow. I'll probably end up watching it later tonight, to be honest. But absolutely enjoyable. I mean, it's really meeting Sting was the real highlight of that night for me. Having the opportunity to meet him and to spend a few hours listening to his thoughts and his opinions on things. It wasn't a dirt digging session. I knew it wouldn't be. I knew he would be coming out and saying, "Oh, Scott Hall got drunk at this show." Jeff Hart, they didn't cover because a couple of people asked some questions out of the different sections. They said they would get back to it, and a couple of times they didn't. But it wasn't really a dirt digging session, which I knew it would be. I knew Sting wouldn't come and say, "Oh, Scott Hall got drunk, and did you see Jake Roberts' behaviour on this, or did you see Hulk Hogan do that?" Just as examples. He didn't say anything like that, but just as examples. He didn't come out and dish the dirt or air dirty laundry in public of any problems with like Eric Bischoff and WWE, or any problems that he had with TNA or whatever, or Dixie Carter, any talks with any promoters or anybody anytime. I knew it wouldn't be digging the dirt and really airing dirty laundry in public. I knew it would be that kind of show, and if you were thinking that it would be that type of show, you would have been disappointed. But I'm sure everybody knew it wasn't going to be that kind of show. It was going to be Sting talking about his life, mostly his career. A couple of subjects didn't come up that I thought perhaps might have. Lex Luger, his religion, he's born again Christian. I would like to maybe heard a little bit about that, but it just didn't come up until, I don't know whether he was not wanting to speak about that or just a conversation. Certainly in Glasgow never went that way. I don't know whether it was discussed in London or Manchester, but that didn't come up in any type of discussion. But certainly a really good show, very enjoyable. Well, I know it was worth a lot. It was a lot of money, but worth it to finally meet Sting. Really looking forward to. Hopefully, if they do another tour, I would like to see Jim Cornette come over. I didn't get the chance to attend that one. It's going to be very few and far between these shows. I'm going to these kind of shows that it is always actually a bit few and far between when it comes to these kind of shows that I actually get to. But really enjoyed myself. Really had a good time. Honour meeting the guy. I don't know if any Sting's representatives will ever watch this video, probably not, but it was an honour meeting him. A great experience, very much enjoyed it. I recorded the audio on my dictaphone. I'm not going to release that because it's not really my place to do so, and the audio is a little bit crap in places, but certainly it was a night I'll always remember, memories that I'll always remember. Just a fantastic opportunity to meet one of my heroes. Fantastic night, really enjoyed it, and like I said, hopefully, perhaps one day, somewhere down the line, I may get the opportunity to shake hands with the icon Sting once more. I do hope so, but if that proves this is the only time I actually get the opportunity to meet Sting, then I think it was absolutely fantastic. If it's the only time, it was a great time.